Welcome to Moms Who Lead, where each week I talk to another mom who's balancing motherhood with a leadership role at work. Across industries, locations, and backgrounds, we're all facing the same challenges and opportunities. We talk about them here to help you balance your most important job with your career. So many of us have stories to share and advice to give. Be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And be sure to connect with me, Diana Mitchell, on LinkedIn. Now, on to the show. Hey everyone, just me, Diana Mitchell today, and I'm just going to talk to you for a few minutes, and I wanted to reflect on these first few months of Moms Who Lead and these first 10 episodes. It's hard to believe. I know it doesn't sound like that much, but to me, it really has been, as this has been a labor of love for me for the past 2 years that I've worked to bring this to life. And I'm extremely grateful to SSI People for giving me the opportunity to finally make this a reality and start connecting moms and talking to moms and learning and sharing with all of you. And I want to thank you for all of your feedback. I get many messages on LinkedIn. By the way, linkedin.com/in/Diana Mitchell 716. If you haven't connected with me already, please do so. But I get so many messages on LinkedIn from people thanking me for what I'm doing and for complimenting the show and asking about guests and just sharing Me Too moments. And it's extremely gratifying. That's why I started this show. And that's why I'm so grateful to SSI People for helping bring it to life. And I want to thank all of you who've been listening and following along on this journey. It's been extremely rewarding, and especially a huge thank you to the first 10 guests who've come on the show. All of you have created such a phenomenal snippet in history and a collection of advice and stories and lessons and relatability that help us all feel a little less alone, whether we share some things in common or not many at all. Every single anecdote and story, though, helps us realize that there are so many different journeys and paths we can take as moms and as professionals. And it's going to run the range of experiences. Every organization is different. Every child is different. Every family and situation is different. And yet, even when there's not much at all that seems to be similar, we really all are a part of the same community. And it's really wonderful. So thank you to my guests for your candor and your openness and your willingness to share the things that were not so easy or were flat out challenging, along with the most happy and rewarding parts of these journeys, because I think it's equally as important to share the harder things that we've gone through than it is to share the happier, or I don't know if I should say easy, because is there really anything in this that's easy, but to share those hard things too, because the parts of us as parents and professionals that we curate online on social media, the things that we post on LinkedIn and the things that we post on Facebook, or if you hate Facebook like I do, Instagram, those are really carefully curated parts of our lives, right? It's just natural instinct. You want to put your best foot forward. And sometimes though, it can be intimidating. It can make you feel like I don't want to say a failure, because I don't want to put that word in anyone's head, but it can, right? When you see a mom who looks like they have it all together and they've got the perfect pictures, like in the middle of the most beautiful fall wooded forest, and the kids are in these perfect outfits and they're white and clean and crisp and don't have spaghetti stains on them. And you think, my God, I'm a failure, right? Like, okay, I don't have those. I want those pictures. It'll happen someday. But like when you see that and you think they must live this angelic, perfect life. And first of all, I want to say, I'm talking into you in the mic here. I'm not picking on anyone who has those pictures. I'm jealous of you and I love your pictures. But what I'm trying to say is that when that's all that you see from other moms, it can make it feel like if that's not your everyday reality, then somehow you're not doing a very good job. And so I love all of those pictures. I love the videos. I love the silly moments. But yeah, sometimes you have to get a little dirty, right? Sometimes motherhood's a little dirty. Sometimes it means cleaning poop off the wall, or having your kid take out a whole package of pads and stick them to the bathroom wall. Like the silly stories that I have heard, or the hard times, when you came back to work after having your child, like Brittany Sagal, and things weren't as easy as, or weren't as supportive as you hoped they'd be, to my guests for getting raw and real in those stories, I want to say thank you, because it helps everyone out there feel a little bit less alone. And it's just been such a tremendous ride so far. And, here we are, and we've got 10 episodes in the can. And I thought it was a really good time to kind of reflect on some of the lessons and some of my favorite advice that you guys have shared so far. And because there's been so much of it, I wanted to talk specifically about what companies can do for their employees, what we learned from these guests that can help your company provide a more supportive culture and environment for working parents. And it's easy for me to reflect on this because before I stepped away from SSI People, because of my personal situation at home and needing more flexibility, I witnessed firsthand and experienced firsthand the culture that they created there. And it was very unique and truly supportive of people, not just parents, but we had team members in India who were sick with COVID, and to know that they didn't have to worry about their job security, and just people with unique environment, people taking care of parents and things. We're all human beings, right? So I saw firsthand what a supportive culture SSI has, and how it not only was the right thing for them to do as human beings, and how that came from Ron Siebert, the CEO, doing the right thing for people, hence the names SSI People, but also it's good for business. It's good for business when you treat people well. When you treat moms and parents and everyone well, it is good for business. And so I thought, okay, we've had a lot of good lessons in these first 10 episodes. Let's look back a little and reflect on them. And the first one is to actively nurture and provide mentorship opportunities. And this, as a mom, is really beneficial. And I think every single guest we've had on the show talks about someone who may have had an impact on them. But in particular, Leslie Vickery talked a lot about mentorship, as she is a co-founder of an organization called Our Mentors that actively connects and provides mentorship opportunities to women in tech, which is phenomenal, right? A formal mentorship organization, but even within organizations, and I spoke to Leslie about her marketing firm, Clear Edge Marketing, where I used to work, and how I had mentors within that group, including Leslie, who really impacted my career. And so, she carefully cultivated that kind of nurturing culture that that allowed senior members of the team to mentor less senior members of the team. And Jody Muhammad, way back in our first episode, also talked about, someone in her organization who was able to provide that kind of ear or mentorship opportunity to provide that support that you need to get going. And so, to expect those to happen organically is a little bit naive in this day and age, particularly with so many people working remotely. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for organizations to create something formal. It doesn't have to be a program per se, but opportunities, suggestions, and even little pushes from behind to help more senior level members of the team mentor younger members of the team. And this can be tremendous in helping with productivity, with retention, with recruiting. It's a no-brainer from a business standpoint, but it's also a really nice thing to do. So yeah, actively nurture those mentorship opportunities. Number 2 is to listen to ideas and feedback from employees. This has been a huge trend, and it's actually kind of scary because it runs generations. And that several guests have said that there wasn't any resource that they desperately needed as a mom coming back to work. And so they just improvised and created it themselves. And that sounds really great, right? You want to just give a high five. So Amy Parker had to do this back in the 90s, and Betsy Sewell had to do it just a few years ago. And you would think that 20 years later, that wouldn't be the case, but here we are. And so Betsy had to make a makeshift pumping room in a handicap stall in the bathroom. And on the one hand, you're like, yeah, way to go, Betsy. It's amazing. And it is. But on the other hand, it's like, she shouldn't have had to do that. Like, that's alarming. And so bringing up the needs for moms and proactively asking, what do you need? What can we do to make it easier for you to come back to work, or to make it easier for you to balance your responsibilities as a parent with work? Ask for that feedback, ask for those insights, and then take action on them. Because at the end of the day, if you're pretending to care. You're pretending to care if you're not taking action. You're asking what they need. And if you're not providing it then within reason, then you're falling short. And so it's critical that you solicit. I mean, there may be times where your employees don't know how you'll react if they bring that feedback on their own. So make sure you let them know you want to hear it and you want to make it better for them. The extra effort on your part is going to make a huge difference on your team. It's going to make them feel heard and valued. And then ultimately you'll be able to proactively to get ahead of their needs and provide for them and not make them feel like they have to do it themselves, which could impact your ability to retain that talent. So just ask and then take action. Now, this piece here is specifically for startups or early stage organizations, but what does a supportive environment look like? Supportive. What does that mean for you? And how are you going to prioritize what it takes to make it a reality? We've had a couple people speak about that. Jeannie and Alina went from a very well-regarded and well-known and respected Fortune 500 company to a startup. Leslie Vickery, who I already mentioned, built a company from the ground up, and Cheryl Farabee did the same thing. She built her company from the ground up. And in each of these instances, the organization made it a priority to piggyback off of the last point, to identify what that culture should look like, what that organization should look like. And then they took the steps necessary to create it. So get that in writing, whether it's through feedback, whether it's from learning from your own experiences, but document what you want to create and the steps it's going to take to get there. And then follow through on it. I understand that in the earliest days of your business, you're completely overwhelmed. But by laying that proper foundation now, you're going to help solve productivity issues. You're likely going to have better service for your customers. It's going to help with retention, with, of course, recruiting. You're going to generate more referrals. It's something that, even though it seems innocuous and warm fuzzies in HR, it's something that's going to impact every facet of your business. So I completely encourage you to make defining that culture, support, however you want to coin the term, making that a priority for your organization in its earliest days. And then lastly, don't be afraid to showcase that culture after you've created it. Make it part of who you are and your brand, your employer brand. Heidi Green was here to talk about employer branding and how creating a good environment for moms is good for business and how you should leverage the heck out of that. There is nothing wrong with authentically showcasing what a great culture you have for moms and parents. As a matter of fact, it would be foolish of you not to. And as a marketer, of course, but here's the key. Here's one of the keys. And please go back and check out that episode for much great detail from Heidi, but it's got to be real. I think many marketers, particularly those who work in client-based marketing, who worked in agencies or consulted like I have, you'll sometimes come into an organization and they say, we want to come across as X. We want a message of X. But in reality, your organization gives an experience of Y. And so X and Y don't line up. And if that's the case, you are way less likely to have a strong result from that employer branding effort, because once there's that disconnect between the experience and the message, candidates will not only turn away, they'll let other people know. And so the damage that could be done there is not something that's very easy to overcome. So make sure your ducks are in a row. Make sure you've done those exercises. You've asked for that feedback, the things that we've talked about in the previous steps, and then ensure that you've built the culture that aligns with those plans first. Then use a savvy marketer, a savvy employer branding expert to distill that experience down into a message that will resonate, that will help you with your recruiting. And honestly, employer branding doesn't just help with your recruiting efforts. It can impact your sales as well. I mean, it's the full-fledged, more than ever. And I hate to go into these cliches or these buzzwords, but it's a very H to H thing. There is B2B and B2C, but in a way there isn't, because what's going to resonate with someone on a human level is what's going to drive action. And sometimes that matters. So let's say you and your competition, what you offer is pretty much the same. Okay, don't tell me you have better service or better people. Like, these are things that they're difficult to quantify and they're very difficult to convey to someone. And that's just a whole other marketing message. But so many people hang their hats on, we have better service. If you can't demonstrate that effectively and very simply, well, So let's just say for simplicity's sake in this argument, that what you offer and what your competition offers is 98% the same. It's very similar. It does the same thing. It solves the same problems. The experience is very similar. if you have a strong employer brand and a strong brand overall, and you're putting out messaging on social media, your team is putting out on their individual LinkedIn, and you've had this cohesive, amazing effort from marketing and employer branding that works together. That employer branding message, the fact that you treat your employees well, that could be the difference. If everything's the same, but I'm seeing constant messaging across about what a great brand you have, about how well you treat your team, about how well your team likes working for you, that could be what pushes the needle and makes me choose you over the competition. Because if your team is happy and you treat your team well, then I know you're going to treat your customers well. I know your team is going to treat me well. It's a win-win all around. So, and it all goes back to just like stepping back and doing the right thing and asking the right questions and taking the right steps from day one, or if you're an established organization, from day one now. This is day one. So take those steps, make it right, do the right thing, build that culture, and then leverage the heck out of it, because it's not just for warm fuzzies. It's not just to do the right thing. I keep hammering this home, but it's good for business. And with that, that's the end of my little lessons that I wanted to walk through today. I want to tell you also that it's been a true privilege and honor to bring this show to life. As I mentioned, I've been working on it for years. I've been wanting to, and I've had so much excitement every time I've brought it up to people. And then I find I was able to bring it to life because of SSI People and joining their team. And as I've mentioned previously, if you're connected to me on LinkedIn, you saw this. I stepped aside from my role at SSI to be more available and flexible for my daughter who has a disability. And with that, I'm actually also going to be stepping away from the show. And I'm no longer going to be hosting. It's actually going to be hosted by my former SSI colleague, Jessica Morris, who is the Director of Learning and Development at SSI People, of course. And next week, I'm going to introduce you to Jessica. You're going to get to know her better. And then from there on, Jessica's going to be taking over the show and meeting with new guests and sharing new stories and lessons and advice. And it's going to be amazing. And I hope that you will stay tuned and that even more people will come to the show, and it'll reach an even wider audience and continue to grow and provide resources and assistance to anyone who needs it, or anyone who just wants to feel like they're a part of this amazing community of moms who lead, or moms who aren't necessarily formal leaders in the organization, but moms who are working hard every day and are amazing at home. They're amazing at work, and they're doing great things. And that's what I've worked really hard to bring to life for you, to hopefully create in a very small way. And that's what Jessica's going to take to the next level for you too. So I'm super proud. I'm super grateful to all of you for listening and for your feedback and for your messages. And it's been a real honor bringing this show to life and for hosting these first 10 episodes and this episode, and then next week's episode with Jessica as well. And then it'll be my time to step aside. I invite all of you to connect with me on LinkedIn. Again, it's linkedin.com/Diana Mitchell 716. And, please stay in touch. You certainly haven't heard the last of me. I'm working on some new things. I'm very excited about them. And I wish Jessica and SSI People all the best as they take this to the next level. And again, thanks to all of you. It's been a real honor and pleasure. So take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Thanks for sitting in with us this week. My hope is that you feel supported, understood, and heard. I appreciate that you took the time to be here. Let me send a quick shout out to our subscribers who join me here every week. I am so honored. And if you haven't already, be sure to connect with me on LinkedIn. My URL is linkedin.com/in/Diana Mitchell 716. Take care out there, everyone.